Welcome to YouTube Pedia. Discover the greatest stories from history, science, and beyond. If you're curious about the world, subscribe now and join our journey through knowledge. You may know him as Dominic Toretto from the Fast and Furious saga. A man of few words, a powerful presence, a relentless driver. But behind that steel stare and muscle-bound exterior lies a story far richer, deeper, and more mysterious than the world of action movies ever reveals. Before he was Vin Diesel, he was a young boy named Mark Sinclair, raised in the cultural melting pot of New York City, fatherless, mixed race, and searching for an identity in a world that didn't seem to know what to make of him. This is the story of the man who turned rejection into resilience, silence into success, and pain into power. Mark Sinclair was born on July 18, 1967 in Alameda County, California, alongside his fraternal twin brother Paul. Not long after their birth, their mother Delora moved them to New York City. She was a white woman of English, German, and Scottish descent. His biological father, a complete mystery. Vin Diesel has openly stated that he has never met his real father and knows almost nothing about him. That absence would haunt him throughout his life, becoming one of the emotional drivers behind his identity. Delora later married Irving H. Vincent, an African-American theater director and acting instructor. Irving would become the only father figure Mark ever knew. It was through Irving that Mark was introduced to the world of performance. He grew up in an environment of art, theater, and passion, absorbing every ounce of creativity he could. But growing up wasn't easy. Being biracial in a time and place where identity was rigidly defined made it difficult for Mark to fit in. He once remarked that he never felt like he belonged to any one group. This unique racial ambiguity would later become both a blessing and a curse, opening doors to some roles while slamming shut others. At just 7 years old, Mark found himself on stage for the first time, but not by choice. He and his friends had broken into a local theater with mischievous intent. Instead of calling the police, the theater's artistic director offered them roles in an upcoming play. That moment changed his life. He began acting in children's theater productions, honing a skill he didn't yet realize would become his future. Through his teenage years, Mark attended New York City's Hunter College, where he studied creative writing. He took particular interest in screenwriting and storytelling, but the path to success was far from smooth. Despite his passion and talent, Mark faced constant rejection in Hollywood. He was told he was too ambiguous in appearance, too black for white roles, too white for black roles. Casting directors didn't know how to categorize him, and that confusion cost him opportunity after opportunity. Determined not to let the system define him, Mark Sinclair took control of his own narrative. He created a new identity for himself, Vin Diesel. The name Vin came from his stepfather's last name, Vincent, and Diesel was a nickname given to him by friends for his boundless energy. He shaved his head, built a chiseled physique, and leaned into a look that screamed toughness and intensity. But beneath that hard exterior was still the thoughtful, introspective artist who loved Shakespeare and screenwriting. In 1995, in a desperate attempt to break into the film industry, Vin Diesel wrote, directed, produced, and starred in a short semi-autobiographical film titled Multifacial. The film, about a struggling biracial actor navigating the industry's prejudices, was a powerful reflection of Vin's own experiences. It was selected for screening at the Cannes Film Festival, a turning point in his journey. Multifacial caught the attention of one very important man, Steven Spielberg. The legendary director was so impressed by Diesel's performance that he created a role specifically for him in Saving Private Ryan 1998. This small but emotionally powerful role introduced Vin Diesel to a global audience. It was the first time he felt truly seen, not just as a character, but as an artist. Despite the breakthrough, Diesel still had to fight for every opportunity. He didn't fit the mold of traditional Hollywood stars, and that remained both a challenge and a unique selling point. He leveraged this identity to build a persona that was authentic, bold, and undeniably magnetic. In 2000, Diesel landed his first leading role in the sci-fi thriller Pitch Black, playing the enigmatic anti-hero Richard B. Riddick. With his deep voice, commanding screen presence, and ability to convey both menace and vulnerability, Diesel made Riddick unforgettable. The film was a sleeper hit and eventually developed a cult following. For the first time, Vin Diesel wasn't just in a movie, he was the movie. Hollywood had no choice but to pay attention. Though fame was growing, Diesel never lost sight of what mattered most: loyalty and family. These values would later become the cornerstone of the Fast and Furious franchise and a reflection of his real-life principles. He often talks about the people who gave him a chance, the mentors who believed in him, and the family he built both on and off-screen. He remained close to his mother and siblings and kept his personal life intensely private. Unlike many stars who craved tabloid attention, Vin Diesel lived by a different code, one rooted in protection, strength, and gratitude. Before he was the world-famous Vin Diesel, he was Mark Sinclair, a boy growing up in New York City with no knowledge of his biological father and struggling with a racial identity that didn't fit into traditional boxes. Raised in a theater-loving family, he found refuge on stage. After facing constant rejection in Hollywood, he took matters into his own hands, making the short film Multifacial, which caught the eye of Steven Spielberg. His breakout role in Saving Private Ryan followed, and with Pitch Black, a star began to rise. But the world hadn't seen anything yet. In 2001, Vin Diesel starred as Dominic Toretto in a small-budget action film called The Fast and the Furious. The film focused on illegal street racing, loyalty, and found family, a perfect alignment with Diesel's own values. Nobody could have predicted that this gritty action flick would evolve into one of the most successful movie franchises in cinematic history. Dominic Toretto wasn't just another action hero, he was a symbol. A man who valued loyalty over law, family over fortune. Vin brought depth, emotion, and authenticity to the character, blending toughness with vulnerability in a way rarely seen in the genre. Audiences didn't just like Dom, they believed in him. And that belief turned the franchise into a global juggernaut. Strangely, after the massive success of the first Fast and Furious film, Diesel chose not to appear in the sequel, Too Fast, Too Furious. He reportedly didn't like the direction the sequel was taking and turned down a huge paycheck to maintain the integrity of the character. Instead, he starred in The Chronicles of Riddick, a more ambitious sequel to Pitch Black. Though Riddick didn't perform as expected at the box office, it cemented Diesel's image as someone willing to take risks for artistic reasons. He returned briefly in a cameo in Tokyo Drift 2006, but it was his full return in Fast and Furious 2009 that resurrected and redefined the franchise. From that point forward, the films grew more spectacular and more successful with each installment. In 2013, tragedy struck. Paul Walker, Vin Diesel's co-star and close friend, died in a horrific car crash during a break in filming Furious 7. For Vin, this wasn't just a professional loss, it was deeply personal. He often described Paul as a brother, and his grief was profound. At the premiere of Furious 7, Diesel broke down in tears, dedicating the film to Paul. The final scene, featuring the emotional "See You Again" tribute, left audiences in tears and became one of the most iconic farewells in film history. Diesel even named his daughter Pauline in honor of his late friend. This wasn't just about movies anymore, it was about family. Vin Diesel was never content with just acting. He became a producer on many of the Fast and Furious films, giving him creative control and the ability to shape the direction of the franchise. He was also instrumental in launching spin-offs and expanding the Fast universe. Outside of Fast and Furious, Diesel also found surprising success in voice acting. As the voice of Groot in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Diesel managed to make audiences fall in love with a character who only says 3 words: "I am Groot." His deep, gravelly voice and emotional nuance brought a tree to life in a way that few could have predicted. He also established his own production company, One Race Films, further demonstrating his desire to tell stories on his own terms. With fame came challenges. One of the most talked about controversies was Vin Diesel's behind-the-scenes feud with co-star Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Tensions reportedly began during the filming of The Fate of the Furious and played out in public via cryptic Instagram posts and interviews. Though both actors maintained that the feud was rooted in creative differences, it became one of the most visible conflicts in modern Hollywood. Diesel later claimed that he pushed Johnson with tough love to improve his performance. Whether that was true or ego-driven spin, the tension added another layer to Diesel's complicated public persona. Despite being a global superstar, Diesel has always remained intensely private. He rarely discusses his personal life in detail and avoids Hollywood's glitzy social circuit. He has been in a long-term relationship with Mexican model Paloma Jimenez, and together they have 3 children. Family remains at the core of everything Diesel does. He often speaks of his children, his late friend Paul Walker, and the values that guide his decisions. In an era where many stars live for the spotlight, Diesel seems to prefer the shadows, revealing only what he wants the world to see. Vin Diesel's legacy is not just about box office numbers. It's about persistence, self-belief, and defying expectations. He created his own space in an industry that didn't know where to place him. He turned personal pain into public power, and he gave a generation a new kind of hero, one built not just on muscle, but on soul. He's also known for his deep love of Dungeons and Dragons, his passion for music, and his interest in philosophy. Diesel isn't just an action star, he's a thinker, a creator, and above all, a survivor. Today, as new Fast films continue to dominate the box office and spin-offs multiply, Vin Diesel stands as both the face and the heartbeat of the franchise. His influence stretches across genres, generations, and global borders. Whether he's voicing a tree, racing through skyscrapers, or mourning a fallen brother, Vin Diesel represents something rare. A man who forged his path, stayed true to his roots, and never stopped believing in the power of family. And just like Dominic Toretto, he lives by one code: ride or die. The engine may cool, the lights may dim, but the legacy of Vin Diesel will keep roaring on. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the life of Vin Diesel, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps more people discover this story. Got thoughts, memories, or your favorite Vin Diesel moment? Drop them in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you love exploring the untold stories of legends like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss what's coming next. This was Youtube Pedia, where history, mystery, and icons collide. Thanks for watching, and as always, stay legendary.